She's Jamie-Lynn Sigler, and she is going to be in a Hallmark movie called The Christmas Note on Sunday. Good morning, Jamie-Lynn Sigler.
Good morning.
Tell us about The Christmas Note.
Of course.
Yes.
The Christmas Note is the fifth movie in a Christmas. It's in the Christmas Shoes franchise that the Hallmark Channel has done for a number of years.
Right.
And this particular movie is about this woman named Gretchen Daniels, who I play, who moves back to her hometown with her young son, Ethan, and they're facing their first Christmas alone without her serviceman husband. And she, in a strange way, befriends her neighbor, this woman named Melissa, and Melissa comes to find that she has a sibling she never knew she had, and these two women sort of go on this journey together to help find this brother or sister. And it's just a beautiful story about family and the importance of that, and, you know, still has the magic of Christmas all around it, but, you know, it has the tears, and it has the laughs, and it has the magic, and all the things that I think you want to feel post-Thanksgiving, pre-Christmas.
I don't want to give anything away, Jamie-Lynn Sigler, but I suspect this Christmas Note ends on a positive side. I think all things work out in the end.
I think that's very safe to say. Yes.
It's Sunday night on the Hallmark Channel. When they came to you, did you jump at this? I mean, I sort of have a thing for Hallmark movies. I love them.
I do too. It sort of was on a bucket list of mine to always do a Christmas movie. So yes, I was very, very excited to be a part of it.
We also know you from, of course, Sopranos. You'll always be known for that. And we hear from time to time about a possibility of a sequel, prequel. Have you heard anything along those lines?
I have not. Well, if it's prequel, I'm pretty much out.
Right.
You know, anything prior to Meadow being a teenager is out of the books for me. But I think the series and the show is being left where it was, from what I understand. I don't think that there's any continuation, nor do I think there could be without our great leader, James. So I think it's just going to stand on its own, and all the wonderful, 86 or however many episodes we got to put out there. And, it's really cool because I hear of people all the time that are discovering the show for the first time and are enjoying it. So to be a part of something that just will live forever, it's very cool.
Of course, you're talking about James Gandolfini, who died shortly after, only a few years after the end of the run. Are you insinuating that he lived in that final scene, Jamie-Lynn Sigler?
I don't know. I don't know, and I don't have an answer. But I think that the way the final scene was shot was a representation of this life and their reality, and I think that whether it ended in that moment or any other, I think it was inevitable, and I think that's what they were showing. Now, this is just for me. This is not like any inside information. This is, strictly
right.
A humble opinion of mine.
Did you know that's the way it was going to end when you were filming it, or were you watched it right along with the rest of us?
I watched it right along with the rest. I did not know it was going to end as abruptly as it did at all. I thought it was going to be more like a fade to black. So I thought it was brilliant and so cool, and to hear all of these people's reactions and the frustration, I completely understood. But David Chase is a pretty genius man, and it was a brilliant way to end the show.
Jamie-Lynn Sigler, our guest. Of course, we're talking about Sopranos, but she's in The Christmas Note Sunday on the Hallmark Channel. Did you have a favorite Sopranos episode?
My personal favorite was an episode called College, where Meadow and her dad go to visit colleges upstate together, and of course he gets wrapped up in other sorts of business. But it was my favorite episode to shoot. And has some of my fondest memories of the show.
That's the one where they find a guy who's in the witness protection program, and while you're out checking out
Correct.
schools, your quote-unquote father ends up doing a little business. That was a good one. That was a great one. People who knew James Gandolfini said he was the nicest man you'd ever want to meet.
That is 100% true.
Was he like a
The
second?
nicest, kindest, most humble, most powerful man you would ever meet, but had no idea of any of it, which just made it all the better.
Yeah.
Just a real gem of a person.
We should also say that you're very open about your struggles with eating disorders.
Yes, it's something I struggled with as a teenager, and I came out with it shortly after and was able to, do as much as I could for awareness. And, with the show being on at the time and me being like 18, 19, 20 years old, I was traveling to a lot of colleges and speaking to my peers at the time. And so it was a great opportunity for me to heal myself and help others. And I think, when you're a teenager yourself speaking to other teenagers, it just sort of makes sense and you understand each other. And so I was able to really feel like I was making a bit of a difference in others' lives, but in turn more in my own. And so I was happy. And I think when you have a platform where you can do something like that, it's important.
Well, we know that teenagers get bullied, and I can only suspect being a quote-unquote famous teenager, you probably wouldn't have traded it, but your life, people thought of you one way and treated you one way and you were probably the brunt end of some of that bullying because you were famous trying to be a regular person. Sure.
And it's hard to deal with, and it's never easy. I mean, no matter how old you get, you don't want to hear people say nasty things about you. And unfortunately, with social media now the way it is, I mean, it's just so out there, and I'm so lucky that it wasn't that way because I was such a sensitive kid. That I feel for teenagers today and what they have to deal with because they just have more opportunities for that, and I'm grateful to people that are bringing such awareness and support for bullying and online abuse and things like that because it hurts, and people need to feel heard and supported, and I think that there's been a nice movement for that.
Jamie-Lynn Sigler, Hallmark Channel, Sunday night, The Christmas Note. Last question for you. My favorite episode of The Sopranos, which there are many of, is probably the one where they left the Russians in the middle of the forest. Do we have any idea whatever happened to the Russians?
No. As far as I know, no. And I like it that way. I think it's great.
I always thought they were going to come back at some point. I was always expecting those Russians to come back at some point, but they never did. Jamie-Lynn Sigler, Hallmark Channel, Sunday night, The Christmas Note. Jamie, thanks for checking in. Good luck.
Thank you so much.
You got it. Hallmark Channel, Sunday night, The Christmas Note. We give you a little Christmas cheer with all this bad news. 748, Big 550, KTRS.